Welcome to Lighthouse, Homeschooling in Oregon with Ocean Network.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Thank you so much, Zan, for joining us again. We are so looking forward to when you are going to come be with us in Oregon on August 28th for the Mom's Night and August 29th for the Leaders Luncheon. If you don't mind, would you take a moment to just tell us a little bit about the kinds of things that people can expect at that event, what we're going to be talking about?
Well, I think at the Mom's Night, we'll talk about the strengths. I think there are 5 strengths that homeschool moms bring to the table that no other classroom teacher can. We'll talk about the things that makes homeschooling successful, the fears that keep us awake at night, and the guilt, and how we can handle that. And then how we can really foster a love for Christ, a love for learning, and a love for life in our children. Just basic, getting back to the basics of homeschooling, why it works, and why you can expect to have a great school year with your kids.
That's fantastic. It sounds good to me, especially as we start getting into the new homeschool year. We need that little boost and encouragement.
Yes, because it's easy to look at the year and be overwhelmed instead of see all the opportunities the Lord's going to give you with your kids in the midst of that.
That's right. So last time we talked a little bit about sort of your homeschool journey and some just tips and encouragement for homeschool moms. What I'm curious about now is if there's anything that you wish you had done less of during your homeschool journey or things that you wish you had done more, prioritized more.
Yes. The one thing I wish I had done less of was worry. And because I was always worried, am I enough? Am I giving my children everything they need? Will there be gaps? Will they get into college? Will they get a job? Will they be happy in life? Just all those things that kept me awake at night. And so I would say worry. I would worry less, and I would really enjoy my kids and my relationship with them more. And I really believe that was a priority for me, but I really was weighed down by all those fears and worries as well. One thing, it was funny because when we first started homeschooling, nobody else was doing it. And we lived in a neighborhood, and we went to a church, a fairly large church, and we lived in a fishbowl. And everybody had comments on it. And by the end of the day, when we would go to bed at night, in the middle of the night at 2:00 in the morning, it was like there was an alarm set in my head that woke me up. And Joe is my best friend. And I would say, Joe, I forgot to tell you what so-and-so said to me today about how I was ruining my kids, or what this other neighbor said about my kids can't play with them anymore. And it just like every night was this 2:00 wake-up call. And finally, after about 6 weeks of this, Joe looked at me and he said, Zanny, Jesus is always awake. So he was in a very nice way telling me he really needed to sleep to go to work the next morning.
Yeah.
And it really hurt my feelings, but it changed my prayer life. And really, I don't know how many nights I would wake up at 2 and I would get up and just pray for my children, pray for homeschooling, try to remember to pray for those who, had ill will toward me. And so I would say, not to over spiritualize this, I would worry less and pray more and really focus on enjoying the time and the possibilities and just the things we got to do as a family.
Yeah, I know, and as our kids get older and they go through transitions, that prayer just becomes more and more important.
Yes.
Yeah. So how do you think parents should think about balancing academics with preparing their children for faith and relationships and work and adult life? There just seems to be so many different priorities and so many different things that moms should be thinking about when they're facing homeschooling. So how do you balance all of that?
A friend of mine gave me some advice many, many years ago. And she said, Zan, don't worry about the balance. Think about the blending, because some days you'll be focusing mainly on relationships and character issues all day long. The kids are fighting or not wanting to do schoolwork. Then you'll have other great days with the academics. And there'll be days where you have service opportunities and opportunity. The thing I love about homeschooling is it's just full of life experiences. Don't withhold those from your children. We were involved in helping, in so many different service projects. I don't mean people or service projects. But you can do so much for so many people when you're homeschooling. You can focus on your child's strengths. My boys loved sports and they loved politics, and they each, the time we spent in the legislature really prepared them in different ways for their professions. My second son, John, ended up being an attorney, and even as a homeschool dad, was appointed as chief legal defense for the South Carolina Department of Education. And so, all these things in life, the sports, I think sports gets a bad rap in homeschooling. It was a springboard for ministry for both of my boys, whether they worked as counselors with FCA or soccer camps, or John went on a missions trip to Wales when he was in college, and he was asked to put together a soccer team to use for evangelism. Lizzie was real involved in the performing arts, and we could, all of those things they were interested in, we could build their education around that. I mean, there's a common bit of information, core of information that everybody needs to know to be literate, educated people. But besides that, we have that opportunity to build a life and an education that suits them and keeps them excited about living.
Yeah. That's true. It's so fun, too, to be able to explore all those different interests with the kids. And they're all so different. It's really fun.
Yeah. And it is fun. And we don't want to lose that fun and wonder. And it's so easy. If you're too tied to a schedule, I'm not saying schedules aren't important, hear me out. But if you get too tied to the routine, you can miss a lot of great life-giving opportunities.
Yeah, all those rabbit trails, right? That
that's
can be so memorable.
And I love curriculum. I work with BJU Press Homeschool, and I'm so thankful for the opportunities they've given me and having a biblically based curriculum that focuses on critical thinking, all those things. But we just don't want to be, the curriculum is the tool, not the rule. And we just want them to enjoy life and each other and relationships. There's so much wonder out there, like you said.
So what have you learned over the years about letting go and trusting God with your children as they become adults and start making decisions and choices on their own?
It's such a privilege to raise our children. I will tell you, as they each left home, I did my own huge amount of grieving over, them growing up, but that's why we're raising them. And it's just, I learned from my dad, from my mom and my dad, when kids get older and leave home, they need your support and they need you to be a cheerleader. And not long ago, I had Todd Wilson on my podcast, and he said, when your kids grow up, whether it's college or career or military or whatever they do after high school, it's time to put down the whistle and pick up the cheerleading pom-poms. And so, we really just need to become our grown children's biggest cheerleaders and biggest supporters. And that's been a real privilege in my life. I'll also say the great thing about your kids getting really grown is having grandkids.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, it is. I never understood why people were so excited about grandkids. I don't know. Until that first one was born, and then it was life-changing.
Yeah. Well, Zan, thank you so much for joining us again today. And if you guys, again, if you haven't registered for these events coming up, please do. You will be so blessed and encouraged. We are meeting August 28th for a mom's night with dessert and encouragement from Zan and fun prizes, and you don't want to miss it. Invite a friend. And also you can bring your teen daughters too. We decided to open up to teen daughters. You could make it a mom-daughter day if you want. I'll be bringing my 2 girls. And then on August 29th, you can join us for a leader luncheon where Joe and Zan are going to join us and talk about homeschool freedom and encourage us as homeschool leaders. And we'll also be talking about some of the issues we're facing in Oregon in terms of homeschool freedom and some of the things we are anticipating in the legislature in the coming session.
And
so don't miss those.
Can I interrupt you there, Tana, too?
Of course.
I just want to encourage you, if you want to be involved in homeschool leadership but have never been, come.
Yeah.
This is your time to come and be with people who maybe have been in leadership a little bit longer than you, but don't be intimidated by that and don't feel like you need to already have, a leadership mindset or, just come. Come as you are. We'd love to have you at that leadership luncheon.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also wanted to mention that we're also thankful to BJU Press Homeschool for sponsoring those events and for Zan and Joe for coming out. We're so thankful for the opportunity to connect the homeschool community with this fantastic encouragement. All right, everybody, we hope to see you at those events, and we'll see you next time on the next Lighthouse podcast.
Thanks for listening to Lighthouse, Homeschooling in Oregon with Ocean Network. Don't forget to send us your questions, and make sure to like, subscribe, and share this podcast with other Oregon homeschool families. Join us again next time as we continue encouraging and informing homeschoolers across Oregon for the Lord Jesus Christ.